You're listening to a production of SportsLink Digital Radio.
From Worthen Arena in Muncie, Indiana, it is Ball State Men's Volleyball here on SportsLink Digital Radio, presented by Victory Honda of Muncie. In tonight's matchup, the number 8 ranked nationally Ball State Cardinals, who come in with a record of 5-3, welcome the visiting Tusculum Pioneers, who boast a record of 3-5. My name is Ryan Stojetz. I'm joined tonight by Dylan Budd. And Dylan, the Cardinals are looking to make it 3 wins in a row. What do you expect to see from Ball State this evening?
So Ball State still has a little bit of a sour taste in their mouths. Just recently they lost 2 straight games to BYU here in Worthen Arena in such a tough environment. Both of those losses were heartbreaking. They lost in 5. The first one was a reverse sweep, actually, so absolutely heartbreaking from the Cardinals. Since then, they've beaten Lees-McRae 3-0, and they've beaten Maryville 3-0. It's been a long home stretch for the Cardinals, but this still is a tune-up game of some sort. Next up, after Tusculum's game tomorrow, they'll be playing Purdue-Fort Wayne. So MIVA action begins for the Ball State Cardinals. This is the last chance for a tune-up game that you might call it, but it's also a chance for the Pioneers to come into a trap game environment and sneak away with a win in such a tough environment like Worthen Arena.
And you can't talk about Ball State men's volleyball without talking about the 4th-year head coach, Donan Cruz, who's been so successful ever since he got to the program, his first season being his most successful in 2022. What do you got on Coach Cruz?
I think Coach Cruz, the biggest thing about him, we talk a lot about the accolades that he has provided, but the biggest thing that I've seen from him is he's fostered a winning culture here at Ball State. The rest of the sports in this program, at this college specifically, tend to not be so successful, but as soon as Cruz has come in, he's turned it around. He's made this a winning program with a winning attitude, and that is what has taken the Cardinals so far. That's why they're the 8th best team in the country, according to the ACVA.
And on the other side, for the Tusculum Pioneers, it's a leader who is in his first year with the head coach title, but someone who has a few years of experience with the Tusculum program, and that's first-year head coach Alberto Ciapparini.
Yeah, Ciapparini, this is his first year, and while they're a 3-5 team right now, they're still very sneaky good. They're on a 2-game win streak. They beat Quincy and they beat Queens just recently. They've played both teams in the MIVA. And it's a team that, like we said before, like it's a scrappy squad that can come into this environment and put up a contest against the Ball State Cardinals. We've talked about the fact that he's been in the Tusculum program before. Previously, he was a graduate assistant, and then he ended up becoming the director of volleyball operations before getting this head coaching role. It's a guy that's been around these players before. He knows these players very well, and being a player himself previously, it allows him to have that inside connection because he's been in that spot as well.
You can hear the energy in Worthen Arena getting closer and closer to first serve really quickly. Dylan, give me a player you're looking out for to have a big game tonight on each side. Let's start with the visitors. Who are you looking for on Tusculum?
I think the obvious answer here is Declan Wingo. The senior 6'4" outside hitter has been the bright spot on this Tusculum offense. He's done so well. He has 24, 28, and 26 kills in his last 3 games. He leads the team in kills, and he's the spark plug for this offense. He's what can get them going when they need it the most, and he's the one that's going to have a very big game for the Tusculum Pioneers.
Absolutely, and one quick thing on Wingo is, you mentioned, how great he is. He accounts for nearly 46% of his entire team's kills. That's insane. He's practically almost half of Tusculum's offense. Who you got on the Ball State side?
On the other side, facing him on the other side of the net will be Rajay Aline, number 7. He's got an outstanding story. The senior came from Barbados and was a transfer from Quincy, and he absolutely dominated on a low Quincy team. Here he is at Ball State, being the opposite hitter for this team. Eyal Rawitz went down, so you need attackers, and Rajay has come in and done so well. The biggest thing I noticed with Rajay, when every other player, whether that's Tinashe and Devasheva or Patrick Rogers, Rajay is the one that hits the ball not only with power, but with contact. He does so well to place the ball exactly where he wants it, not only in his hand, but where it will hit the floor when he needs it most.
Starting lineups being announced And we are just about ready to go at Worthen Arena. The first of 2 matches between these 2 squads. They'll meet again tomorrow night. For Ball State, starting 6, Patrick Rogers, Vanis Buckholz, Rajay Aline, Braden Savitsky-Lind, Tanashi and Davazocheva, and it's Lucas Machado back to do the serving duties for the home team.
Machado has been the first server in much of Ball State's matchups. He's done very, very well from behind the stripe, and he's a great addition to this team to be able to get them going early.
Just about ready to get underway. Ball State coming in winners of 2 straight, having not played since last Friday. Tusculum also winners of 2 straight, but they just played at North Greenville, which is located in the state of South Carolina, on Tuesday. So much more recent was Tusculum's last game compared to Ball State, and also a lot more travel compared to a Ball State team that's had a very home-heavy January.
It's been a long stretch of home games for Ball State, and it's only going to continue. We just mentioned the BYU games. Lees McRae was at home. Maryville was at home. Up next is another game against Tusculum tomorrow, and then a game against Purdue-Fort Wayne here at home on the 6th, and then 2 games against Lewis on the 13th and the 14th of February. So long home stretch. There's no place like home, and there's no place like Worthen Arena to play for these Cardinals.
Solid rally here in the first point. Machado with the dig to keep it alive. Pitlack sets for Rogers, who taps it over. Tusculum now sets up the offensive attack. Near side kill, and who else but Declan Wingo, who we just talked about a few minutes ago. He has been all over the court this season for Tusculum, and he gets his team's first kill and first point, 1-0 Pioneers. The serve from Riley Wisniakowski for Tusculum is handled by Ball State, and Davazocheva evens the score at 1 early as his attack is past the diving libero Taylor West. We're knotted at 1 in set 1.
And the biggest thing we talked about before this game, Ryan, is that these teams will live and die by the kill. Both of them are very good with serving, but they're also really good in receiving serves. So the team that can get the kill and execute it or block the opposition is really going to win this game, and that's what matters the most. Obviously, the kill, what ends the play, but that's what's going to matter, and that's what's going to have one team come out of here on top and another team packing it up for the day.
Patrick Rogers back to serve again after he just had an ace, and make it 2 aces in a row for Patrick Rogers. 2 serves, 2 aces for the junior from Rutherford, New Jersey, and the Cards lead at 3-1. Can he make it 3 in a row? Rogers serve. This one, it's close, and it's signaled in just inside the back line. And that's a hat trick of aces for Patrick Rogers. My goodness.
3 straight aces for Rogers. The last one was untouched. This is pivotal for a Ball State team that has almost double the amount of service errors than they do service aces. What a job by Patrick Rogers to get up early. And what a job by the team overall. You can tell that Donan Cruz was stressing that this past week to make that a pivotal standpoint, especially in this matchup, before MIVA play begins.
Rogers' ace streak is stopped at 3 as that point went on for a while, but who else but Declan Wingo attacking from the far side gets his 2nd kill and gets his team's 2nd point. And the Pioneers cut it to 4-2. Wingo to serve, handled by Pitlack. Machado back sets for Aline on the near side, and that one is out of bounds. It was not off of a tip, and Rajay Aline will be charged with an attack error as he was going for the near side, but could not find Pioneer territory, and the Pioneers have gotten back to a 1-point game as Wingo will serve again, looking to tie this first set. He cannot do it as his serve lands well out of bounds. It's a service error for Wingo, his 21st service error of the season, and the Cardinals lead 5-3, and now it is the senior middle blocker, Vanis Buckholz, doing service duties, and that one handled a little bit awkwardly by the Pioneers, but they're able to recover and free ball it over to Ball State. Machado and Davazocheva, there it is again. Mr. T from the far side finds open floor. He gets his 2nd kill, and it's 6-3 Ball State.
One of the concerns that we had coming into the game, we hadn't seen a complete game from the starters against Lees McRae and against Maryville, just because those are games that you can consider tune-up games as well. they'll only be played until they're not needed. And in a game like this, I anticipate that being the situation as well, where you've got your starters in until you don't need them, just so they can stay fresh when MIVA play begins, when those very pivotal games come down the stretch.
And Zocheva making some plays on defense as he had a block that resulted in a Ball State point. Cards up by 4, 7-3 Ball State in set 1. Tusculum looking to hang around, and that won't help. No chance for that one as the front row of Ball State was there. Not sure who officially got the block. And that's going to force what I believe is an early timeout, I assume, from Coach Chiapparini. And yes, Tusculum takes its first timeout of set 1. Each team gets 2 timeouts per set. Ball State leads 8-3. Dylan, what are your early thoughts?
Well, like I said before, what defines this game is going to be how successful you are on your attacks. Already, Tusculum leads in attacks, a narrow lead, I might add. It's 6-4, the Pioneers lead, but Ball State is up by 5 points because not only can they have the ball hit the ground where they want it on the offensive side, but they do such a great job of blocking. That's because of Tinashe, that's because of Rajin, and that's because of that front row that does so well. They're so tall. And one of the things we've talked about as well is the height advantage that Ball State has. Some of these guys on Tusculum, you have Joel Dubinsky, who's a great outside hitter in his own right. He's only 6'1". If you match that with Tinashe and Zocheva, Tinashe is 6'6", but one of the things that makes him so great is he's lanky too. His wingspan is ludicrous. When you match up a 6'1" outside hitter against a 6'6" lanky opposite hitter on the other side, that's not going to go well for your team.
Out of the timeout, we'll see if Tusculum is able to claw their way back in. Still very early in the match and in the set. 8-3 Ball State. Vanis Buckholz to serve. Taylor West sets for Roper. Off a deflection, now back in Tusculum possession. They try to tap it over, but a joust at the net ends up falling gingerly out of bounds on the Ball State side, but it was not touched by a Ball State player. And credit Patrick Rogers for just watching that one, knowing that, hey, our guy didn't touch it. We could just let it fall. He does. 9-3 Ball State. Buckholz serving again. His serve is over, received by West. Wingo in the middle, handled by Ball State. They regroup. Machado backs at Aline off of a front row block, and that's Aiden Roper with the block on the Aline attack. And defense to offense for Tusculum, and the Tusculum bench fired up as they have a little bit of life. Still work to do, though, as the Pioneers trail 9-4.
What's been interesting to see is at this point throughout the season, Ball State, when they've been trying to block a kill, they've only had 2 people generally to match that attacker. At this point in the game, they've used 3 for much of the contest. And while that does well for blocks, it puts guys out of position when it gets through to the back row, and we saw that there. Nice play by the Pioneers.
And that's going to be an attack error for the Pioneers. Is they're trying to claw their way back in this one. You got to be aggressive, but too much on that one. I believe it was Aiden Roper who had the attack error. Ball State up 10-4, and Rajay Aline, the senior who spent his last 3 seasons playing volleyball at Quincy, another MIVA school, gets his serve over. Near side attack is off of a block and out of bounds, so that'll be a point for Tusculum. That's Joel Dubinsky, the sophomore outside hitter from Washington State. Gets his team's 5th point of the game as his kill attempt went off a Ball State block and out of bounds. It'll now be Dubinsky to do the serving duties for his team. His serve is into the net, and just like that, it's a service error, and the serve will go to Ball State. 11-5 Cardinals. And Dylan, when you're coming on the road taking on one of the top teams in the MIVA and a team that's ranked 8th nationally, you just can't have those unforced errors. You have to make Ball State earn every point.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Ryan. You cannot have those errors, but when you come into a place like this, like Worthen Arena, with such a great team ahead of you with the Ball State Cardinals, no matter if it's a win or loss, it gives you a chance to learn. With any game, you'll get experience, and you can do stuff to help your team identity and refine things based on your philosophy of the game. But you can also come into an environment where you see a winning culture and you see the way they go about it, and maybe use some of that to help your program. Tusculum's been fortunate enough to not only play Ball State today, but play Ball State tomorrow to get a first-hand look at that.
Ball State trying to set up an offensive attack. Aline again off a deflection, off of another deflection in the back row, and it ends up into the stands as that fan got a volleyball over back, way back in the stands, almost behind the Tusculum bench, as it was deflected off the front row of Tusculum, then hit the libero Taylor West. He couldn't handle it. It's 13-5 in favor of the Cardinals as Stojetz will serve again. His serve received by Tusculum. Pioneers trying to hang around. Diving dig by Aline to keep the play alive. Rogers, and that play was just kind of broken from the start. They were trying to get it to Patrick Rogers on the far side, but he had to almost go out of bounds a little bit, and then he had to just sort of awkwardly set the ball back into play. Everything just a little bit off on that point for Ball State. Point goes to the Pioneers. It's 13-6 Cards in set one.
And that's one of the problems that Ball State has had the entire season. When they have set plays and they can do what they are expected to do of them with their offensive philosophy, that's when you see them succeed the most. When things are a little bit out of place for that, sometimes they struggle to improvise, and that's what kills them down the stretch. Teams will realize that and get them off their spots, and that's why Ball State has struggled to finish in some of these games.
Patrick Rogers gets the kill on that last point, and now it's Braden Savitsky-Lind who has one kill to his name this evening to serve. His serve off the tape but over. Dubinsky a drive far side, but it goes out of play past the back line. Attack, error, charge to number one in black. Tusculum wearing their black uniforms. Ball State wearing the white tops with red shorts. Cardinals attacking left to right here in this first set as Savitsky-Lind will serve again with his squad leading by 9, 15-6. Powerful serve handled by the libero Taylor West. And the attack from Morgan Makovic in the middle goes off of a Cardinal player and out of bounds. That's a kill for number 5 for Tusculum. Makovic, the sophomore middle blocker from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Third on his team in kills coming into tonight with 37. Serve from Makovic, handled by Ball State. And Stojetz in the middle. Oh, you can't let that happen. Mr. T with momentum in the middle, able to get a lot on that one. No chance for Tusculum. It's T's third kill of set one. Cardinals pulling away 16-7. It'll be Machado now to serve. Lucas Machado, who started off the set at the service line. Joust at the net, goes the Cardinals' way, and it looks like that was Aline who got the kill. Or no, they're going to give it to Buckles, Vanis Buckles. Both Buckles and Aline were in the area, and they're going to give the credit to Buckles. Machado to serve again. 17-7 the score. Tusculum looking for some life. And was that one tipped? It was not. Not tipped by Ball State. It's another attack error for Tusculum. And the Cardinals really dominating here. 18-7. Tusculum does have one timeout left. Cardinals have two in this set. As we'll see if the Pioneers have any answer. And Caleb Hammond tried in the middle, but he was rejected by the Cards. And I think right on cue, there's going to be the second and final timeout of the first set by head coach Alberto Chiapparini, the first-year head man for the Pioneers. And it's 19-7 Ball State. We'll stay here, but Dylan, what's the message right now from a coach when you know the set is all but lost, but you're still likely looking for something because you took the timeout for a reason?
Yeah, this is a team that's not just going to turn over and give up. And we've seen some flashes from this team already so far. There are things that can work. And the first set, Ball State historically has done very well with the first set. In only one contest, they have lost the first set. So especially looking at the scoreboard right now at 19-7, it's likely that the Cardinals will take this one as well. But nonetheless, the first set is a chance to be able to feel the other team out and understand how they play the game of volleyball. Right now, the biggest issue for them is Lucas Machado is at the line. The reason he serves first is because he's the best server on this Cardinal squad. He leads the team in aces coming into this game. He has 11. I believe he has 3 already so far. And being able to run away with a lead like Ball State is doing is exactly what you cannot do for if you are a Tusculum player. This is a very dangerous situation that they're in. And the set feels all but lost because he's the one behind the line, and at this point, you're still feeling each other out.
The aforementioned Lucas Machado brings us back into play as his serve is handled by Wingo, and a quick play by number 19, Riley Wisnikowski on the Tusculum side. Gets his team the first point out of the timeout, as it was one where the ball was kind of just hanging up there, and Wisnikowski, the setter, a little sneak attack. Not too often you see the setters do the offense themselves, but you saw it there, and that's a kill for number 19 in black. Quickly, though, it's Aline, and that's going to be one that Wisnikowski wants back, because Aline had the kill on the near side, but Wisnikowski was there and in position. He just couldn't handle it. And you can see him talking with Declan Wingo a little bit, trying to maybe figure out what happened on that one. Rajay, simply too much for him there. Cardinals 5 points away. It's 20-8. Patrick Rogers, who had a streak of 3 consecutive aces early in this set, can't get one here, as it's a drive from Wingo on the far side, handled by Rogers. It gets to Aline on the near side, off of a block by Hammond and out of bounds. That's another kill, and the Cardinals are pouring it on in set one, 21-8.
The Cardinals, like we said before, they have a tendency to start very hot, and they're doing just that. But we've seen flashes, we've seen things that work for Tusculum. We saw the setter kill. What's gonna be their saving grace is if they can continue to be crafty and mix things up. Like we talked about before, Ball State has 3 blockers for each attack right now. They're prioritizing getting as many hands as possible to try and interfere with that ball. If you can mix things up and continue to, and send those up front guys flying all over the place, that's gonna be what wins you the game.
And in very quick fashion, the teams traded service errors. Rogers had a service error for Ball State, but Declan Wingo gave it right back to the Cardinals with a service error of his own. So a point for each team, and albeit an unconventional way, 22-9 as we play this point. Ball in Tusculum possession. Back set for Dubinsky, far side, blocked by Ndavizocheva, and it falls on Tusculum hardwood, and the Cardinals are 2 points away, 23-9.
This game started at 7 o'clock. It is 7:18 right now, and there's already 23 points from the Ball State Cardinals. Another dangerous thing for an opponent of Ball State is when these cards get in rhythm, they're almost unstoppable. Now we see Will Basilio getting serve action.
Basilio, the freshman from Ontario, played in a few matches this season, and Coach Cruz opting to get one of his younger guys some reps late. As Tusculum able to get the point there, 23-10. The serve was good, but a joust at the net was ultimately won by the Pioneers. 23-10 is your score. It'll be Caleb Hammond, number 10, to serve for the visitors. His serve is received by Rogers. Machado, Savitsky Lind in the middle, handled awkwardly, but albeit handled enough to keep the ball alive for a free ball. And Ball State's with it once again. Savitsky Lind in the middle. That one sails just out of play past the back line. It is another point for the Pioneers. An attack error for Savitsky Lind, the sophomore from Roscoe, Illinois, who's second on the team in blocks. Part of that big height advantage you talked about, Dylan, that Ball State has. Savitsky Lind definitely a part of that. Ndavizocheva, and it's set point as Ndavizocheva's attack landed right in front of Declan Wingo, who just couldn't get there in time to make a play on it. And the fans are on their feet. It is set point, 24-11. And Rajay Aline will hope to end set one. 24-11, the Barbados native, the transfer from Quincy in his first year with the Cardinals, doing the service duties. Aline can't do it. It's a service error. He slams it into the net. So we'll try it again. Cardinals still doubling the Pioneers after the service error from Aline. It's 24-12 in set one. Joel Dubinsky will serve, trying to keep his squad just alive to see another serve. That's all you can do at this point in the set. His serve is received by Rogers. Machado tapped it over himself and gets it back after the joust. And Machado, the setter, with the set-winning kill in set one. Didn't have that on your bingo card at home. And the Cardinals have a decisive set one win, and it ends with the first kill of the evening for the Brazil native setter, Lucas Machado. All cards in set one, Dylan, what'd you see?
That's dominance. This is what makes Ball State so good. No matter where you go with the ball, there will be success because there's so much high-end talent on this squad. We've talked about Tinashe Ndavizocheva. He has 5 kills already. Patrick Rogers has done his part to contribute to this team at such a high level. Rajay Aline, coming in as a transfer, has done very well in his own right. Now we see guys like Lucas Machado come in. We see people like Will Basilio come in. No matter whether it's a freshman or a senior, whether they're 6'5" or 6'10", there's so much talent on this team. And no matter where you go, they will succeed because of that.
That they will. A very decisive set one victory for the Cardinals. Set one is done. We'll have at least two more. We'll take a quick break here on SportsLink Digital Radio, presented by Victory Honda of Muncie.
Whether you're getting ready for the big game or getting ready for the workday, you always want to Whether you're getting ready for the big game or getting ready for the workday, you always want to start with confidence. Cintas has the essential products and services to help businesses provide a clean, safe environment for their employees and customers. With routine restocking of essential cleaning, hygiene, and safety supplies, on-site cleaning, professional uniform laundering, and testing and inspection of fire equipment and systems. Give everyone the confidence they need to start their day. Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
The Hampton Inn of Muncie is the official partner of Ball State Athletics. Ask about our Ball State special, available to all Cardinal fans. The Hampton Inn is one of Muncie's finest hotels. Come enjoy our free breakfast, free Wi-Fi, and fresh Hampton beds waiting for you. Less than a mile away from Ball State campus. Don't forget to ask about our Ball State special. Search Hampton Inn of Muncie online at munciesweets.hamptoninn.com. At munciesweets.hamptoninn.com.
Welcome back inside Worthen Arena, where the Ball State Cardinals decisively took down the Tusculum Pioneers. 25-12 the score in set number one for Ball State. Really so much to like. Lots of good things from the service line. We saw Patrick Rogers, 3 consecutive aces. How often do you see something like that? And Tusculum, they battled, give them credit. We talked about, Dylan, in the open how Tusculum, it was no secret that they were the heavy underdog in this matchup. Used both their timeouts in the set. They tried. What do they have to do to keep set two at least a little bit closer?
I think you have to continue to gather and maintain momentum if you're the Tusculum Pioneers. They've done well when they have that momentum behind them. Granted, they've lost it pretty quickly, whether that's a service error or a kill getting blocked. As long as you can start getting good looks for your team, you can continue to ride on that momentum and then shut down this Worthen Arena crowd. What we talked about, the fact that when BYU came in here and pulled off a reverse sweep, by the time it was set 4, the Cardinals may have been up 2-1, but because of how set 3 played out, the Worthen crowd had just shut down. And that had to have helped BYU to some degree win set 4 and then eventually set 5. But the fact that there's so much momentum already from this Pioneer squad, the fact that there have been flashes from this Pioneer squad, tells me that this is far from over.
It'll be the Pioneers now serving left to right as the two teams switch sides for set 2. It's Caleb Hammond, Joel Dubinsky, Declan Wingo, Taylor West, Aiden Roper, and Riley Wishnikowski. And it'll be Wishnikowski who does the serving duties. To get us underway in set 2, his serve received by Pitlack. Machado, who had the set-sealing kill a few minutes ago in set 1, and that one off of a tip, or off of a block, from the front row of Ball State. I think that might be Savitsky Lynn who gets credit for it. And mentioned just a few moments ago coming into tonight, Savitsky Lynn, 6'7", leads his team, or second on his team in blocks with 16 coming into the match. Add another one to that total there, and now Savitsky Lynn goes to the service line. His serve is into the tape, and we're tied.
And with Braden Savinsky Lynn, he's only a sophomore, and he's done so well for this team, and he's produced at such a high level. We talked about the depth of this squad, but we also didn't talk about how well-rounded of a team this is just because of age. We have Tinashe, who's a senior, Patrick Rogers, who's a junior, Lucas Machado is a sophomore, Braden Savitsky Lynn is a sophomore, but even freshmen like Will Basilio have done so well for this team and have already created an impact at such a young age. It's not because this team doesn't have enough depth. It's just because no matter where you are from the top to the bottom, there is talent.
We are tied at 2 after an interesting sequence where we had an attack error from Vanis Buckholz that gave the Pioneers their first lead of the set, but then Declan Wingo, by far Tusculum's best player, put his serve into the tape, and we're now tied at 2, and that's going to be an ace as the serve was just never, it was handled fine, but after the initial reception, it went out of bounds toward the official on the ladder by the net, so unable to set up an attack. And the Cardinals lead again. It's 3-2. Machado, likely Ball State's best server. A powerful serve is over. Dubinsky kept alive by a diving Mr. T in the back row, but that attack might have been going out from Dubinsky. And it ends up going out off of the diving play from Ndava Zocheva. You love the effort, but on that one, Dubinsky, he came at an interesting angle because he saw there were 3 Ball State front row players right there, so he had to get it to the far side. We'll never know for sure, but I think that one might have been better if Mr. T let it be. 3-3, competitive set early, but Vanis Buckholz with a powerful punch in the middle finds open floor on the Tusculum side, and Buckholz with his first kill of the evening. And it's 4-3 Cardinals in set 2.
You had talked about how the attacker with the Pioneers had to change up where he was aiming that ball. It's because of the 3 blockers that has been the name of the game so far in this contest. It's changing how the Pioneers attack, and it's getting them off their spots. It's throwing them off what they know, and that's what Ball State isn't capitalizing on. There are only 2 seniors on this Pioneer squad, and those are the only upperclassmen on this roster as a whole, whether that's transfers or a recruiting issue. There's going to be inexperience because of that, and I think that's what the Cardinals are trying to capitalize on. We've seen low IQ plays from this Pioneer squad, but we've also seen high IQ plays from this Cardinals, from the Pioneer group. That's what's going to be the defining factor of this game. It's going to be IQ, court vision, and being aware of what is in front of you.
A long-lasting point there. It's going to go the Pioneers' way as it was tipped by Rajay Aline in the front row off the block, but it landed just out of bounds on the far side. Multiple officials had a good angle on it. Pioneers hanging around early in set 2. They trail just by 1. It's 5-4 Ball State after Ball State took set 1, 25-12. Dubinsky serving for the Pioneers, received by Ndava Zocheva. Ndava Zocheva gets it back, and he fires it way too powerful for any Tusculum player to catch. When you let Mr. T really get a lot behind his serve and give him time to wind up, I mean, you know that's how it's going to end. Mr. T, as he's affectionately called around these parts, now up to 5 kills in the match.
Tinashe Ndava Zocheva is such a pure athlete. You could put him probably at any sport and he would succeed in one position or another because of his frame and because of his speed and raw athletic ability. That's what he's riding on with his lankiness, with his height, and then with his ball speed and power that he brings behind his arm. It's a guy that can jump out of the gym, and it shows with every attack that he brings, and that's why he leads his team in kills right now.
Tusculum still hanging around as the last point resulted in a kill from number 5, Morgan Makovic. And Ndava Zocheva, again, that one was off the libero on the far side, off of Taylor West, number 6 for Tusculum. It hit him, and then it went so far off of him that it went out of play on the other side of the court. That just tells you how powerful of a punch Ndava Zocheva packs. 7-5 Ball State. Rajay Aline to serve. Aline is having himself a solid day in the early going. 4 kills, 2 digs to his name. His serve received by West. Wisnikowski sets far side for Wingo, and they're going to have to get him going, and that's a good start. Declan Wingo gets his first kill of this set. And the Pioneers giving the Cardinals all they could handle in set 2. Give credit to Alberto Chiapparini's squad, because after such a dominating first set where you're on the wrong end of it, it could be easy to put your head down and kind of just mail it in, but that has not been what's happening for Tusculum as they are hanging around, and they've tied it. Or have they? What's the call? They have not tied it. I think they're going to say perhaps Riley Wisnikowski got into the net on that kill. It was really close play up in the front row, and there was a minute of hesitation after where you knew maybe something was wrong. And it's going to go Ball State's way, so they lead 8-6. Joust at the net. Eventually to the Ball State side. Machado gets his second kill. Lucas Machado sticks that left hand out there and gets it to go in the middle of the back area of Tusculum hardwood. 9-6 Ball State. Machado, who had the set clinching kill in the first frame, has his second of the day. And Lucas Machado, he could beat you from the service line. He could set up the Ball State offense really well, but you got to keep your eye out. He's going to try to sneak attack you a few times throughout a match.
It's the 4th credited kill for Lucas Machado. And like we talked about with Tusculum, what's going to be important is to be able to mix things up, and we've seen that with Rajay attacking, we've seen it with Tinashe attacking, and now Machado has added a little bit of attacks to this team as well. Right now his hitting percentage is 66.7. His 3 attacks, 2 of them have landed home. Well done by the Cardinals to be able to continue to be crafty and keep the Pioneers on their toes.
And look at the volleyball IQ from Braden Savitsky-Lind in the middle of the front row. Sometimes in volleyball, less is more. You expect a powerful punch, but Savitsky-Lind puts just enough on it to get it past the front row, but also takes enough off of it where it dies before it gets to a back row player. Savitsky-Lind gets the kill. The Cardinals, nice little run here. It was once 7-6, now 3 straight points for the home team. 10-6 Cardinals in set 2. And Davizocheva's serve, handled by Tusculum. Wingo far side. He gets the cross-court kill past a diving Pitlack, who was the closest Cardinal to it. We got a football score. It's 10-7. Cardinals up a field goal in set 2.
Possibly a preview of the Super Bowl here, Ryan.
Maybe.
That's Wingo's 3rd kill of the contest through 2 sets. He has 11 attacks right now for the Pioneers, and you can see that it is a big emphasis of this team to get him going and keep him going. However, we see guys like Lucas Machado respond once again for this team. Machado has more kills right now than Declan Wingo. No, I'm sorry. They have the same amount of kills in comparison because Ball State can mix it up so well while the Pioneers have to rely on their 1 star.
It's now Will Patterson into the game, the sophomore middle blocker from Loveland, Ohio. Wears number 21 in to do the service duties. His serve is over. Wingo now near side off the front row of Ball State and out of bounds. That's a kill for Wingo as Ball State was there. They're ready for Declan Wingo. They know that the Pioneers are going to try to get the ball to him. Ball State had players there, just the block bounced the wrong way, went out of bounds, and it's a kill for number 4 in black. Wingo now to serve his squad within 3. Received by Ndabazocheva. Machado sets for a lean far side off of a block by Aiden Roper, and he is fired up. It is not often you see a Rajay Aline attack go the other way that fast. Rejected by number 9 was Rajay Aline. And we'll see if that translates to more momentum for the Pioneers. They're hanging around 11-9 Ball State.
It's plays like that that can get a team hyped up. Let's see if the Pioneers can use this and build off of it.
Kill attempt from Aline hit Declan Wingo in the back row and went all the way back over to the Ball State side, and that's where they were able to get it back to Rajay Aline, who gets the kill. Aline was saying, all right, that one earlier, you're not doing that again. I'm getting my revenge. Aline up to 5 kills.
You have to give credit to Donan Cruz and the rest of the teammates for the amount of trust that they have in their guys. Rajay can't get it done on one play. They immediately give it to him the next time, and he's able to cash it home that time. It talks a lot about this team as a whole and how they can respond to that adversity. They're only up 2 right now, and they obviously want to extend that lead. It's a great fight by the Pioneers, but Ball State, they do such a great job of trusting their guys because it's a group of friends. It's not a group of teammates. It's a bunch of guys that know each other very well, trust each other, and want to play for each other.
Rogers gets the kill as it goes off of the outstretched arms, as it was Riley Wisnikowski, number 19, who tried to get it. He was standing upright, couldn't get enough on it to keep it in play. It was past a diving Declan Wingo in the back on the Terraflex court, going out of bounds just to try to keep the ball in play. It's now 13-10 because on the point before that we had a rare service error from Lucas Machado. 13-10 the score, and that one is going to go the Cardinals' way as... Or is it? I think they might have said that a Ball State player hit the antenna on the net. And yeah, the point goes to Tusculum.
The Pioneers caught a break on that one. When you have such a soft spike like that, and you have Rajay Aline, Vanis Buchholz, and Tinashe and Davizocheva all ready with their arms extended to block it, there's no way that that ball gets through. The Pioneers absolutely caught a break. See if they can do something with it like they did just there.
Something all right. Declan Wingo getting him more involved in set 2, and it's showing up on the scoreboard. Wingo up to 4 kills. He's also held a lot of weight defensively as he has 5 digs to his name. He's pulled his team within 1. 13-12 Cardinals. Both teams still with all 2 timeouts this set. Dubinsky's serve handled by the Cardinals. Rogers in the middle. Was it touched? It was not. It's an attack error charged to Rogers. And really a different sort of energy in here in set 2. 13-13. The Pioneers already with more points in this set than they had all of last set, and it's 13-13 compared to 25-12, a Ball State victory in set 1. We have a stoppage in play. I think there might have been a challenge. As it stands, it's an attack error charged to Patrick Rogers, and I assume, unless you saw something else, Dylan, what's being challenged is, did that hit a Pioneer player on the way out?
That's a great question, Ryan. It's such a bang-bang play. To be honest, I didn't see it. From our press box so far away, it's difficult to make those calls, especially at the angle that we're in. But Donan Cruz is certainly familiar with these challenges and with the time spent reviewing these plays. We had seen before. Oh, it looks like they're about to make the call now. Excuse us.
And it's reversed. So it's been a couple times in this second set where Tusculum's been oh so close to tying the set, but it's not to be, as it's not 13-13. It's 14-12, so then credit Patrick Rogers with a kill. Truly a game of inches is volleyball. Must have been touched. We'll see how Tusculum responds after thinking they just tied this match. Free balled over by Roper. Machado, Patterson in the middle, handled by the Pioneers. Dubinsky tried to do it himself from right around the attack line, but couldn't get it over the net. Ball State now leads by 3. It's 15-12, and that'll take us to our media timeout. Both teams still with all 2 of their timeouts this set. And Dylan, 15-12 Ball State. Tusculum, though, has to be pretty encouraged.
They have to be. I mean, after the first set where you lost in not a pretty fashion, coming into this one, and you're only down 3 at this point. Ball State needs 10 more. 13 more are needed for Tusculum, but it's still a very close matchup. We've talked about the fact that Ball State struggles to finish and has struggled to not gas out a little bit, but we still see Coach Donan Cruz bringing in some of the bench guys. We saw Will Patterson. The matchup between Joel Dubinsky up the middle and Will Patterson on the other side to face him, a 6'1" outside hitter versus a 6'10" middle blocker, is exactly a summation of this height advantage that the Ball State Cardinals have over these Pioneers. But the Pioneers have made the most with what they have so far. What's been the X factor for them, like we talked about, is Declan Wingo. He's started to get going a little bit more, and that's why Ball State hasn't been able to break away, and the Pioneers have been able to be so close because they've gotten their star player going and they've let him operate as he does. Success will come when you play on your stars.
Success is not something that the Pioneers have had against Ball State historically, as the Cardinals lead the all-time series 4-0, although it's a relatively recent history with the squads having first matched up in 2022. And Davizocheva, he gets the kill on the near side, or does he? No. I thought it went off of a block and out, but they're going to say that that one, I guess, landed back in Cardinal territory. It's a point to the Pioneers, as the Pioneers get the first point out of the media timeout. 15-13, the score in set 2. Roper to serve. Handled by Davizocheva. Machado and Davizocheva near side. No chance for Tusculum, as it landed kind of in the middle of the back area of Tusculum territory. Couple players had a good look at it, but no one had a play. 16-13, Cards lead.
There's a couple points that we've brought up before that showed up there. We saw a fake from Will Patterson that isolated some of the Pioneer defenders and opened up opportunities for Mr. T, and that's why he got the kill. There also was the fact that they went right back to Tinashe after his kill attempt was blocked the play before. It's a very similar philosophy from this Ball State offense. And again, we bring this all the way back to Donan Cruz. Cruz that has brought in a winning culture where you can trust those guys that you have in front of you. And now Tinashe has his second straight kill, as we just saw there.
How about that one? That one was cross-court. It came from the near side. It ended up hitting Tusculum territory, not too far from where the official stands in the corner closest to the now Tusculum bench. 17-13 the score. Rajay Aline to serve. Off the tape, but over. Pioneers setting up the attack. Dubinsky near side. Off of the libero Cam Gray, a new entry into the volleyball match. And they're going to give the point to Tusculum because the Cardinal was in the net, which is kind of interesting since the play wasn't really that close to the net.
It didn't seem like there was much action at the net, but we did see Cameron Gray come in. Again, this might be a point where we see Cruz start to be a little bit more lenient on how many plays his starters have. Cameron Gray, it looks like he'll come back in. The second string libero has done very well coming off the bench for this team. He had a great game against BYU with a litany of digs, and here he is getting time again against this Pioneer team.
A service error by Morgan Makovic has the Ball State Cardinals now back at the service line. It's Indaba Zocheva with the serve. Quickly back in Ball State territory. Rogers, and he didn't hit that one like he wanted to. It goes way out of bounds. Going for the cross-court kill was the New Jersey native Patrick Rogers, but he just got too much air under that one, and it sailed kind of close to the Tusculum bench out of bounds.
A rare error from this Ball State offense. A lot of times you see those attackers get very good contact on the ball. I wonder if it was a mistake by Machado with his set height and timing, or I wonder if it was a bad jump by Rogers, or maybe it was just an arm swing. It seemed like he got the fingertips on it rather than the palm of the hand like you would want, but a rare error nonetheless, but good for the Cardinals to be able to capitalize like we just saw.
Service error by Tusculum has the Cardinals back up by 4. Patterson's serve handled by the Pioneers, and Wingo on the near side gets the kill. It was off of a tip from the front row of Ball State, and no one on the Cardinals was able to recoil it after that. So Tusculum still hanging around. Again, set one was 25-12. This one 19-16. So regardless of how this ends up, improvement by the visitors, no doubt.
And it leaves a lot of questions for set 3. Can you come in with this momentum that you're starting to build and sneak a set over these Cardinals? There's still a chance to win this one. Can you come back and win this one?
And what won't help, though, is on that last point, an attack error from Aiden Roper. Wasn't touched, sailed just out of bounds, sort of near the E of the Ball State lettering, if you're familiar with the new Terraflex court in Worthen Arena. Tusculum looking to bounce back, joust at the net. It's deflected off a few players, but now in Ball State possession, and Zocheva taps it over. Back set by Wisnikowski. Wingo in the middle, off of a tip and out of bounds. Declan Wingo keeping his team in it.
You talked about the new Terraflex court. This is the first year that the men's and women's team have both had the Terraflex court, and we saw pregame that these players were warming up without shoes on. Some of them were just in socks. Some of them didn't have any footwear at all. We looked it up, and we found out warming up barefoot on a court improves the durability of the foot and ankle, and by doing that, it makes much more explosive production with shoes because you're getting used to that court and you're getting used to how it feels on the bottom of your foot. Then with the added support of the shoe, it allows for more explosiveness and potentially an advantage for these Ball State Cardinals. We've seen how high Tinashe and Zocheva and Rajay Aline and Patrick Rogers, we've seen how high they can jump naturally. Maybe some of their warm-up can attribute to that as well.
It was certainly an interesting observation you had in pregame warm-ups, and really insightful just to see how beneficial the Terraflex court could be. Also because, one, I think it just looks cool, but two, how it could kind of help with that home court advantage as a weird joust at the net. Ball State wanted something. I'm not sure if they thought maybe a Tusculum player was into the net, but no call, and we play on. Roper tried to free ball it over. I think Tusculum might have been out of touches, but he can't do it. And the Cardinals are 3 points away, 22-17 in set 2. And that was just a weird point because you saw Ball State bench up in arms about something. Not sure if they saw a player in the net or whatnot, but they get the point anyway as Roper couldn't get it over on the last hit and Ball State's 3 points away. And they're going to say that that one was touched by Patrick Rogers. It's an ace for number 20 in white. And we're going to get a stoppage of play. We'll see if it's a timeout or a challenge. And it looks like this is just a timeout from Alberto Ciparini. His team trailing 23-17. While we've got a timeout, a little bit of history on Tusculum University. It was founded in 1794, and it was the first institution of higher education in the state of Tennessee and the 28th oldest institution of higher education in the nation. And Tusculum is located in the city of Tusculum, Tennessee, which is located in the northeastern part of the state. So some cool history. Tusculum, an institution that is, not that much younger than our nation, which is pretty interesting to think about.
Absolutely. What's crazy about this is how old Tusculum University is, but then you put into perspective how young this volleyball program is. We had talked about pregame that, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were founded in 2019, yes?
I think the first season they played was the 2020 season, and what a time that would be to try to get a program off the ground with all that was going in the world at that point. But it's a really good observation, Dylan. The history of the university is so long, spanning literally centuries, but then men's volleyball only, 5 years old, give or take. So it's an interesting point, and I just think it's encouraging because it's a sign that the game of volleyball is really growing when you still have new schools adding it, you still have it getting more publicity. So I think that's a great point you make there.
It was 202 years before the university itself was founded and a volleyball team was created for the Tusculum University Pioneers. That's absolutely fascinating, but look where they are now. They're 3-5 and here competing against the number 8 best team in the country in the Ball State Cardinals. Whether they win or lose, this is a learning experience for them, and it's games like this that will define their culture down the line and help them when history needs it most decades later from this game.
And all of a sudden, out of the timeout, it's 2 straight points for Tusculum. It was Morgan Makovic who had a kill on the first point, and then right after that, Joel Dubinsky, a service ace that was received by a Ball State player but then couldn't set up the offense. It's an ace for Dubinsky. Dubinsky came in with 7 aces on the year. He'll look to make it 2 straight aces. Can't do it as it's received by Rogers. Machado, buckholes, past a sliding Declan Wingo in the back row, and it is set point once again, 24-19. Fans on their feet in Worthen Arena. The Cardinals looking to take a 2-0 lead. And we have a substitution for Ball State. It's Mateusz Karpał, the Poland native, in to do the serving duties and trying to ice set 2 for Ball State. The serve is over and received by Tusculum. Wingo in the middle, off of a block, off of Machado, and it stays alive for Ball State. Got to get it over on this hit, which they do. After the free ball, Wingo again in the middle. Was it touched? It was not. A bit of mixed signals here. The Tusculum players didn't leave the court. They're going over to talk to the officials. The scoreboard reads 25-19. They're playing the song that they play when it's set point, which makes you think that maybe it would be set point again. But, okay, it wasn't touched. The 5-minute clock has started. That will do it in set 2. A little bit of a weird ending to that where you saw Tusculum thought it was touched. Ball State didn't, but then they also hesitated. And the Cardinals take set 2 25-19, a little bit closer than set 1, which was a 25-12 margin, but albeit Dylan, Ball State up 2-0.
Ball State has done a very great job as we expected coming into this game, but like you said before, set 2 was a much closer matchup between these two. Set 3 could be a chance to continue to build and continue to capitalize. Now you can't lose a set if you're the Pioneers, and it's go time. You've spent enough time seeing how this team plays, but now it's time to assess yourself with this 5 minutes of time and see how you can create plays, create good looks for your team, and ultimately win the game for the Pioneers. Like Herm Edwards had said, I mentioned it last broadcast, you play to win the game at all levels. this might be a low-end Division I team facing the 8th best team in the country, but you always play to win the game. And that's what the Pioneers are doing here. They cannot let up. And this is a chance for them to really capitalize, because Ball State will likely not have all of their starters in, at least for the beginning of this third set. We started to see Mateus Karpov come in at the end of the set. Will Patterson came in at one point halfway through the set. You're starting to see bench guys get more time. Will Basilio also came in on the first set. Those bench guys are getting more time now that they have a lead. It's a narrow lead at this point nonetheless, but it is still a lead. So this is a chance, while you have your Pioneer starters still playing against more of the bench guys for the Cardinals, it's a chance to get some momentum going and get back on your feet.
That it is. The Cardinals lead it 2-0. The home team will look to break out the brooms in set number 3. Can they do it? We'll be getting to find out in a few minutes. In the meantime, we'll take a quick break here on SportsLink Digital Radio, presented by Victory Honda of Muncie.
American Pest Pros is the official pest control partner of Ball State Athletics. We protect your home or business and guarantee year-round protection from insects and pests. Ask about our Ball State special, available to all Cardinal fans. Our pest control program is the safest and most effective in the industry. Even if you tried a different service and it didn't work, we'll fix your problem, guaranteed, or your money back. Visit AmericanPestPros.com. That's AmericanPestPros.com. And don't forget to ask about our Ball State special.
Ball State fans, who needs batteries? Your locally owned Battery Masters have batteries for cars, boats, golf carts, cell phones, watches, key fobs, Papergo toys for kids, and more. Bring your rechargeable batteries back to life for drills, shavers, dustbusters, and more. All Ball State fans receive a free battery checkup. Just mention Charlie Cardinal. Battery Masters is conveniently located on the corner of Walnut and Centennial, next to Mini Trista. Check us out online at batterymasters.com. Go Cards!
You're listening to a production of SportsLink Digital Radio.
It's been all Ball State so far as the Cardinals lead the Tusculum Pioneers 2-0 in the first of 2 matches that these squads will play. The two will meet again, same place, same time, tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll also have that game for you on SportsLink Digital Radio. And something about Ball State, as we look big picture with the Cardinals, something that this program is not unfamiliar with, expectations. The Cardinals picked to finish first in the 2025 MEVA preseason poll, receiving all 9 first-place votes. On top of that, Ball State had 3 players receive all MEVA preseason honors, that being Patrick Rogers, Tanashi Ndavazacheva, and Rajay Aline. All 3 of those names, I think we've said a good amount tonight.
Absolutely. They've had a great play and game in their own rights tonight individually. And like you said, this is a team with very high expectations, and generally they have met those. Their losses have come against Stanford, who I believe is 13th ranked in the country right now, and BYU, who is 5th best in the country right now. I believe Stanford, that series was split. They played 2 games. But my point is, the problem with Ball State so far has been finishing against big-time opponents. They can beat up on these teams like Lees McRae and Maryville all they want, but the end of the day, what's going to matter the most is when you can beat those ranked teams like the Stanfords, like the BYUs down the stretch. And so far, they haven't been able to do so at the expectation of their team, of the program, and Donan Cruz. But games like this are where you can refine and where you can fix those errors that you have. These are tune-up games at definition, but it's a chance for this team to clean up those errors that they've had and continue to create their identity.
Players taking the court for set number 3. Looking on the Ball State side, the Cardinals now closest to us once again, serving left to right, is Ball State. Cam Gray, the number 2 libero in the game for Ball State. As you mentioned it, Dylan, Ball State in this third set, which the Cardinals hope is the last. They'll try to maybe mix some new names into the rotation. That won't help, however, as Lucas Machado, a service error, charge to him as he slams it into the net. Tusculum with the early lead, 1-0 in set 3.
It's Machado's second service error of this contest. It's still very rare for him and not to his expectation. Hopefully that is not a representation of how this set will go.
Rajay Aline, though, quickly answers for Ball State as he gets it to tip off of a Tusculum player in the front. No one can get to it in the back in time. We're tied at 1, and quickly we're even. Ball State, quick response. Patrick Rogers, who, if you weren't with us in the first set, had a streak of 3 consecutive aces in set number 1. Not there, though, as he has a service error. Put a lot behind it, but it landed sort of close to the official, who stands in the corner on the Tusculum side, not opposite of the one by the Tusculum bench. Landed sort of in that area, a few steps in front of him, but out. And Tusculum leads again. It's 2-1. Aline, he has his second kill of the set. Rajay Aline, who we just mentioned, one of 3 Ball State players who received all MIVA honors, spent the last 3 seasons playing at Quincy, a MIVA opponent, so used to playing against Ball State and playing in Worthen Arena as a visitor. Now, in this month of January, getting a lot of a taste of what it feels like to play at home here, and that's going to be an ace for Vanis Buckholz, as Tusculum couldn't handle the serve from the middle blocker, and Vanis loves it, and he's going to look to do it again. 3-2 Ball State.
Great game from Vanis Buckholz. He didn't actually play in the last game against Maryville, but he already has 2 kills on 6 total attacks. That's an ace from him. He's attempted 2 blocks. One of them came home. He had a setter kill earlier in this contest. So coming off of a game where he didn't get any time, this has been a great showing from him. And again, another instance where Ball State has so much depth. He is the 6th Ball State player, the 7th Ball State player to have a kill to his name. Everybody's getting touches on this team. Even some of the fans are getting some action. They're hitting some officials. They're hitting some security. Everybody's getting the ball tonight. Oprah Winfrey would be proud.
The team's trade points as Andavis Ocheva had an attack error on the far side. Mistimed his jump a little bit, just was a little off on the kill attempt. That brought us to 3-3, but then a service error by Caleb Hammond on the Tusculum side gives the Cardinals the 1-point lead right back. Rajay Aline to serve, looking to make that a 2-point lead. His serve received by Taylor West, and that one is blocked by Will Patterson, but out of play. 4-4 the score as Tusculum again early in set 3 hanging around. We saw set 2 prove to be a lot more respectable for the visitors compared to set 1. It was 25-12 in set 1, 25-19 in set number 2. And the Cardinals are going to take the lead right back as Reef Mathis, number 21, the freshman from St. John's, Florida, who's appeared in just 2 sets this season coming into the game. So this just his 3rd set appeared in. And he's going to want that one back as he's charged with the service error. And Rogers, a quick attack as that one didn't have a lot on it. It was just coming back over on the Ball State side of the net. And you think Ball State might try to set up the offense a bit more methodically. Rogers says, I don't got time for that. He gets another kill. He's up to 4 kills. Cardinals lead 6-4. And Davos Ocheva to serve. Received by Wingo. Wingo gets it back off the set. Joust at the net. And it's tapped over nicely. That's Wisnikowski. Riley Wisnikowski gets his 2nd kill. And you saw that one. You saw Wisnikowski. You could almost see it from here unfold. You see, he sees the vision. He sees Ball State still a little bit out of sorts blocking the last attempt. And he finds open floor in the back area of Ball State territory. And his squad is still hanging around. 6-5 Ball State. The serve is... Did that go under the net? I think it did. Not often you see that, and the service errors piling up for Tusculum in set 3, and it's just something when you're coming on the road, taking a really good team, knowing you're the big underdog, like we've talked about, you at least got to make the team that's favored earn every point that they get.
You can't make costly errors like that, like we talked about. And the problem with Tusculum right now is they're getting in their own way. That's the biggest thing. Ball State has high-end talent, and they've continually done well with it. But the biggest flaw for Tusculum right now is themselves. They're playing too aggressively, and I think now that you're in the 3rd set, after having played such a high-level team for so long, this is where mistakes start to be made because you've played so much time. you're a little bit tired as well. You have to factor in fatigue when you're facing such a good team. But as you get more tired, more mistakes are made because you're sacrificing that stamina.
That last play, there was a joust at the net. The point goes to Tusculum's way. Looks like there were hands from both sides, kind of outstretched, looking to touch the volleyball. They'll say last touch was Ball State, but again, the service errors piling up as it is another one that goes past the back line, and Ball State getting a lot of points without even having to touch the volleyball.
Yogi Berra would say this is deja vu all over again. This is the third service error in this set alone from the Pioneers. And now Lucas Machado is serving. Clearly he's not anymore after a Pioneer point. But if you're in that spot with Machado serving and you're still getting in your own way and you are your own worst enemy, that's a horrible spot to be in. Thankfully, they're able to capitalize, and now you see the Pioneers serve again.
Declan Wingo with the kill to bring the visitors within two. Machado, buckholes off of Wisnikowski. Tusculum able to recover, and that one is past an outstretched arm of Lucas Pitlack, the libero, the number 1 libero who's now back into the game. He was on the far side. That one would have been close as to would it have landed in play or not. Pitlack not wanting to leave it up to fate, laid out for it, got to it, just couldn't get to it in time to get under it and make a play. 9-8, Rogers, wow. Patrick Rogers doing it all, 5 kills, 7 digs. He just notched his 5th right there. He'll go to the service line. What I can't believe about Patrick Rogers, he did not start playing volleyball till his sophomore year of high school. He's gotten pretty good in, what, 5 years or so?
Yeah, he was on the junior team for Team USA Volleyball. He's a high IQ player, even with his limited experience. But the strength, the speed, and the IQ that this kid has is spectacular. It is a sight to behold. And that's why they call him Captain America around here, adoringly, by the Ball State faithful. Because not only does he have all of that, he has the intangibles as well. He's a great leader for this team and a great representation of what the Ball State program has to offer.
And I think he knows we're talking about him because he just picked up his 7th kill. Forgive me, that last one was his 6th. This now his 7th. 7 kills, 7 digs for Patrick Rogers, who in the 2023 season, his first collegiate season, he played for St. Francis Brooklyn, where he earned Northeast Conference Freshman of the Year honors and Northeast Conference First Team honors. So this is just a player who has done it at so many levels. You mentioned the USA volleyball opportunity. Just what an incredible get for Donan Cruz in the transfer portal a couple of years ago. And, you know, he's one of those guys where no matter how a game goes, you can rely on him to at least have a few wow-type plays, and we've certainly seen that this evening.
Now we see Will Basilio come in for Tinashe and Davizoceva. And Davizoceva has 8 kills in this contest right now, and an outstanding game from him, per usual, from the Ball State faithful here. But now we see Basilio coming in and getting more time. I wonder if this is the point where Donan Cruz starts bringing in more bench guys. We saw Will Patterson get significant time, and he's still on the court right now. As the lead extends potentially for these Cardinals, will those starters slowly start to trickle out?
And as the starters trickle out, that doesn't mean the Cardinals are taking their foot off the gas, because Will Patterson picks up the kill. That's going to be his first. Will Patterson, the sophomore, who was a 3-time state champion in high school.
Right now there are 3 starters for the Cardinals. Rajay Aline is here to serve. Patrick Rogers is still in. And Lucas Machado, who has led the team in assists all year, who has 22 tonight, by the way, is still in as well. From the bench are Patterson, Basilio, and Cameron Gray.
The attack from Morgan Makovic, they're going to award the point to the Pioneers. They're going to say it was touched by a Ball State player because it landed out of bounds, but it was one of those where the officials on the floor have the better angle. Not sure who it was touched by, but they're going to credit that kill to Makovic. It'll be Reef Mathis to serve. We mentioned this is just the 3rd set he's appeared in all season. Had a service error earlier, gets this one over. And how about Will Basilio? That's what these matches are about, Dylan. You've talked about it all night. You've been on point. You want to win. You want to see your starters do their thing, but then you also want to see what do you have in the young guys. Basilio picks up just the 12th kill of his young career and the first kill of this match for number 3, and now the freshman will serve.
And games like this, like you said, are very significant for underclassmen. Will Basilio is a freshman. A kill like that makes him look like an upperclassman, like a senior, maybe a graduate student. But he's only a freshman. There's a lot of talent from top to bottom, and that's been the name of the game so far for Ball State. It's what makes teams good not only in the present but in the future. When you have somebody like Tinashe and Davizocheva graduating next year, somebody like Will Basilio, who's very good in his own right as a freshman, imagine him as a senior. That skill is only going to get better. There's a very low chance of regressing in a program like this, as premium as Ball State, and this is how dynasties are formed.
14-13 now the score. Pitlack receives the serve from Dubinsky. Machado backs at Aline near side, and that'll take us to the immediate timeout. Rajay Aline picking up kill number 8, the Barbados native. We've said his name all night. We mentioned seeing some of the young guys getting some action and doing some good things. You love to see that, but at the end of the day, seeing your best players make big plays will never get old. And that's what we saw there is Aline takes us to the media timeout. However, it's anyone's set in set 3 as Ball State leads 15-13. And Dylan, looking big picture for Ball State. We talked about the MIVA preseason poll. We talked about the expectations. There's been a little bit of postseason disappointment. We got a long way until April, till the MIVA tournament, till the NCAA tournament, whatever. But since winning the MIVA regular season tournament postseason and winning the MIVA regular season and tournament title in 2022, the last 2 postseasons have ended in disappointment for Ball State. In 2023, a 3-way tiebreaker atop the conference standings in the regular season went Ball State's way. They eventually got to play in the MIVA Tournament Championship right here in Worthen Arena. They lost to Ohio State in 4 sets. Last year, Ball State again captured the number 1 seed in the MIVA tournament and lost in stunning fashion to Lindenwood in the semifinals, again right here in Worthen Arena in 5 sets. So, again, a long way till we worry about postseason. We haven't even started conference play yet. But, Dylan, I do think it's interesting because I do think there's a little bit of pressure on Ball State with the lack of postseason success compared to the regular season success. Getting the 1 seed is great, but at the end of the day, you got to get that conference championship because that's what gives you an auto bid into the national tournament.
This is what we talk about with teams, not even in volleyball, but across various sports leagues as well. Being able to do so well in the regular season and not being able to get it done. These are teams like the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers that can struggle to get over the hump. It's a little bit of a revenge tour here for this Cardinals team, and this is their best shot to win. You have pivotal seniors like Rajay Aline and Tinashe and Davizocheva. There are still young guys to build around like we've been talking about, but how the way you can replace Tinashe and Davizocheva is not a crystal stair. It's going to be hard to fill those roles, and talent-wise, just on paper, this is their best shot to do it. And I think Donan Cruz and this team knows that. They have to pull it off this year, or else it won't be for a while.
Lucas Machado just did it again on offense. After the Pioneers picked up the first point out of the media timeout, Machado in the middle gets his 4th kill of the evening. He'll now serve. Cardinals lead 16-14. They won the first 2 sets. They could finish off the match by getting to 25 and winning by 2 in this one. And that one goes out of play. That's an attack error. And that's going to be another Ball State point. Ball State up now 3 on Tusculum, 17-14.
Once again, this is the most dangerous spot to be in for the Pioneers, excuse me. Now that Lucas Machado is in, continuing his presence, it's tough for the Pioneers to not only get the service back, but to be able to come back against this high-caliber team, then reclaim the lead, and then maintain it to win a set. Even if you do all of that, there are still 2 more sets to win. Then there will be plays like that from Rajay Aline that will stop you from doing so and suck out the momentum from this Pioneers team. I don't want to make it seem like I'm being a Debbie Downer on this squad, but this is still a great learning experience for the Pioneers. All is not lost yet, but they've done a great job in having adversity and being able to respond as well as they have so far.
Joust at the net, nearly goes out of play into the stands, but Machado runs over there, says hello to a fan, and keeps the ball alive, where it eventually gets to Patrick Rogers on the other side, who taps it down. Wow. A few seconds prior to that, I thought that ball might be going into the stands, which it wasn't that far from doing. Credit Machado for not giving up on the play, and the Cardinals now lead by 5. Machado now will serve. His serve is over, received by Wingo. Wingo receives the set, blocked by Buckles, but I think it landed on Ball State's side. It did, Tusculum point. Buckles in the right place, but just couldn't complete the play like he wanted to. 19-15 each team, still with all 2 timeouts. And again, we sound like a broken record, but you can't have the service errors. And in a 5-point third set, if you take out even just half the service errors for Tusculum, could be a whole different vibe here in the late stages of set 3.
Absolutely. These are mistakes that you can't be making. And as we have said earlier in this set, when you make mistakes like this, a lot of times it's because of fatigue. They've done a great job of being able to stick with Ball State, but at some point, you're going to fizzle out because of that. And I think we're starting to see that, especially now being 4 points away from losing this game, or this match, excuse me. The momentum has completely been sucked out for these Pioneers. Great job from them to be able to play for so long, but you can only do this at such a high level for so long.
Patrick Rogers with an ace, but then fouled it with a service error, has it at 21-16, make it 21-17. As a block by the Pioneers lands on the Cardinals side, 21-17. Again, both teams still have both of their timeouts. You get 2 timeouts per set. They don't carry over to the next set, but at this point, Tusculum needs to win this one in order to make there be a next set, as the Cardinals are 4 points away from finishing off the sweep and make it 3, as number 3 with the kill, his second of the evening, Will Basilio, the freshman from Ontario. He was so successful in his earlier volleyball days in Canada, started playing volleyball when he was 13, a 2-time Canadian club national champion was Will Basilio, now taking his talents all the way from Canada to Cardinal country here in Muncie, Indiana. As another new player into the game, another freshman, Ryan Lewis, into the game, does the service duties. His serve is over. Free balled over by Tusculum. Rogers, a lean near side. What a block by Dubinsky. Dubinsky rejects Rajay Aline. We've really only seen that, I think, twice tonight, where Rajay Aline gets flat out denied and the ball goes the other way back into Cardinal territory. Credit Joel Dubinsky, the outside hitter, who's really been a solid player for this Tusculum team. Only a sophomore, but came into tonight second on his team in kills with 49 and third on his team with digs and 32. So definitely a player who contributes offensively and defensively quite a bit. Substitution for Tusculum now, number 17, Kai Williams, in to do the service duty, and that one past Will Basilio, who had his arms kind of at an awkward angle to his left, trying to make a play on it, but there just wasn't that much room because he's standing on that sideline. The issue was it landed behind him, kind of between him and the official. It's an ace for number 17. He'll look to replicate that. This one is received by Basilio on the far side. Machado sets for Basilio, taps it over off of a block back into Cardinal territory. And a little bit of uneasiness has come over Worthen Arena as it's 22-20 as the Pioneers are trying to live to see another set. The Cardinals won the first 2 sets. These volleyball matches, best of 5. Cardinals looking to complete the 3-0 sweep. They need 3 points to do so. Machado, Patterson, rejected, but Pitlack gets back in time to recoil for Ball State. Will Patterson gets it to go, slams it down right around the attack line on the near side is where that volleyball landed, and the Cardinals are 2 points away, 23-20. Wonder if we'll see a timeout at any point by Alberto Chiapparini, with his team still hanging around in this third set. Ball State hoping it's the final set. Aline serve received by the libero Taylor West. In the middle, Makovic a drive handled by the Cardinals. Ball State regrouping, joust at the net. And the Pioneers get the point as they get the putback. We'll see who got credit for that. There were several players in the area. We'll wait to get official word on that, but it's 23-21.
It seems like the rule for Coach Cruz has been 5. When the team is up 5, that's when we see sort of some of the reserves start coming in. Obviously now we're 1 point away from a win, but when that lead was 5, that's when we saw Ryan Lewis, who is affectionately called Baby Giraffe by his teammates because of his lankiness. That's when we see guys like that come in. Now here's an opportunity for a young guy, Will Basilio, the freshman, to potentially serve the last point of this contest.
Basilio just got the kill to make it 24-21. His serve, however, handled by Tusculum. That one off of a block and out of bounds. We'll try it again. The Cardinals were there. They got the block, but it goes out of bounds 24-22. You do have to get to 25, but you also have to win by 2. So the Cardinals still with some wiggle room. 24-22, fans on their feet in Worthen. Dubinsky to serve. His serve is over, received by Pitlack. Machado, Rogers, taps it over, and that will do it. Gets it to go off of a Tusculum player. Not a whole lot on it, but sometimes less is more. And a lot of happy humans in Worthen Arena. Dylan, even you're doing the dance. I love it. As the Cardinals are victorious on this Thursday night. Set 3, the closest of the 3 sets, but a sweep is a sweep. The Cardinals improved to 6-3 on the season. They win their 3rd straight match. Tusculum falls to 3-6 and sees their 2-game winning streak snapped. Dylan, this was a fun one. The Cardinals win, the Cardinals sweep. We saw a lot of the key players that we've seen throughout this season do a lot of good things. We also saw some new names, which you love to see, because not only is it good to see, just in general, it makes you feel good to see some younger players, guys that go to practice, they're in the weight room, they're working hard, they're watching film, to see them get their opportunity, but to see them make the most of it and have some success. Will Basilio, Ryan Lewis, Will Patterson, some of these names that we've seen maybe a little bit more in this match than we would in, say, a match against a BYU or a Stanford. Really good to see, Dylan. A lot to break down, a lot that we saw. What are your takeaways from this 3-0 sweep by Ball State?
So I think, like you said, this is a very complete win for Ball State. They had their stars relied on. You talk about how Rajay had 8 kills. Tinashe Navazocheva had 8 of his own. Patrick Rogers had an outstanding game with 10 kills, 5 aces, 7 digs. These are the guys that you're going to rely on for a tournament like BYU, well, for big-time opponents like BYU, like Stanford, like they haven't come victorious against before. If they played them again tomorrow, they would play a lot better because of games like this. These are tune-up games. There's games where they can clean up, and they did exactly that. Now, if you're Tusculum, all is not lost. They still competed at a very high level throughout the entire contest. And the biggest thing, if you are head coach Alberto Ciparini, is the fact that they grew throughout the game. You could see how they improved, not necessarily because Ball State started to let off the gas, especially late, but you could see they started to see how things worked with this Ball State team. You could start to see how they wanted to respond to that, how they wanted to use their stuff to create advantages for themselves. And because it got closer and closer and closer with each matchup, they can still hold their heads high knowing they played very well against the 8th best team in the country. Now you look to tomorrow and you look at how they played, knowing that they will continue to play like that. This is an opportunity to capitalize. Maybe tomorrow it goes to 4 sets. And that's a victory for this program that hasn't seen much limelight and hasn't seen much success, partially because of its age and partially because of its quality and talent. This is a moral victory for the Pioneers at its definition. Well done by them to stay in it for so long, but ultimately well done by the Cardinals to bring in their stars, still rely on their younger guys, and refine what has been ailing them so far in the season.
And you look on the scoreboard, it shows. First set, Ball State 25, Tusculum 12. Not pretty, getting more than double. Then in the second set, 25-19, much more respectable. The third set, the closest of them all, 25-22. And did Ball State not even take their foot off the gas, but get some new names in? Yes, but still, it's the 8th ranked team in the country. Their 2nd and 3rd string players are still going to be pretty good. And I think you put it well. I think for Ball State, it's a good win. It's a confidence builder. It's a nice little tune-up as these teams will do it again tomorrow. Tusculum and Ball State will play right here in Worthen Arena, same time at 7 p.m. And then for Ball State, they have off until a week from tonight when they take on in-state rival Purdue Fort Wayne in their conference opener. Always fun when those two squads get together. But before we get too far ahead, just taking a look back at this match, the stat leaders, we'll look at kills. Patrick Rogers, we talked about him a lot. And actually, look at that. The 3 kill leaders are the 3 All-MIVA preseason players for Ball State. Patrick Rogers, Rajay Aline, and Tanashi Ndabazocheva. Rogers with a team leading 10 kills, Aline and Ndabazocheva with 8 each respectively. On the Tusculum side, no shock to see Declan Wingo up there with 10 kills leading his team. As we mentioned early on, Wingo coming into tonight accounted for nearly 46% of his team's kills. That's just absurd. Joel Dubinsky coming in second in kills with 7, and Morgan Makovic with 5. Looking at the defensive side with Diggs, Wingo also leading the way for Tusculum with 6. Joel Dubinsky and Morgan Makovic each with 4. And for Ball State, it's Rajay Aline, 8 Diggs, Patrick Rogers, 7, Lucas Machado, 5. And as we wrap up here, Dylan, looking at the team stats, I think, we talked about it throughout the call, but Tusculum having to limit the unforced errors. I'm looking at 2 things. Service errors, Tusculum 11 to Ball State 8. Attack errors, Tusculum 17 to Ball State 12. Especially in that third set, the set that was so close for Tusculum where they had a really good chance. Set 2 kind of, but still Ball State was kind of in control. But it got a little tense in here in set 3 as fans wondered if the Cardinals would finish off the sweep or not. Those service errors in set 3 were critical for Tusculum. And again, you have to limit the unforced errors. So if you're, Coach Ciparini right now, Dylan, if you're talking to the team, what's the message heading into tomorrow where you get to face this same Ball State team again?
I think you have to have short-term memory. If you're head coach Alberto Ciparini and if you're Tusculum, short-term memory is the biggest thing for any team. If you're coming off a tough loss, if you're coming off a big win, you have to have the expectation that didn't happen. You know yourself and you know your team. This program knows how good of a team they are. They know how good these players are. We've talked a lot about Declan Wingo. Dubinsky himself had a great game as well. There are things that you can do to change the way you approach a game like this, and you can do that between this game and tomorrow's game, but you have to have a short-term memory when it comes to mentality. You can take pride in the fact that you hung with the 8th best team in the country, but you also have to remember that your team is good enough to beat these guys and not sit there and dwell about, okay, we lost. That's not the message of this. The message is we played pretty well. We couldn't come up with things at the end because we were getting in our own way. If things go well and we continue to do what we do best, then we have a very decent chance to pull off a crazy upset, not only in the MIVA, but in the country.
And you really said it good. You want to forget the fact that you got swept, forget maybe that first set, but in sets 2 and 3, remember the good things. Remember that you hang around, you even caused a little tension in Worthen Arena at times. And we'll see what these two teams bring tomorrow. Ball State, though, victorious tonight. As for Dylan Budd, I am Ryan Stojetz, wrapping it up from Worthen Arena, where the Cardinals are victorious, getting a 3-set sweep over the Tusculum Pioneers, winning sets number 1, number 2, and number 3 in sequence, 25-12 in set 1, 25-19 in set 2, and 25-22 in the third frame. That'll do it from Worthen Arena. Thank you for listening to SportsLink Digital Radio, and be sure to tune back in, same time, same place tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, Ball State Tusculum. Let's do it again tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then. Until then, have a good night, go Cardinals, and thank you for listening.
This has been a production of SportsLink Digital Radio.